But in order to understand metaverse, I think it's important to look into the 3 pillars of what metaverse is about. Because many people just say it's about a virtual interacting gaming world. But no, it's about 3 pillars of existing technology that has been around for a long time. Some of the parts of these technologies are rather new, but the most of these parts of these technologies we have had for more than a decade. And the first one is extended reality. The second one is AI, artificial intelligence, and the last one is blockchain. And within the category of mixed reality, we have the ones that we also see here today, the 3Ds, the avatars, but also the virtual reality and the augmented reality, but also the mixed reality. So it's not only about this cartoonish, colorful platform that we see out there in towards of games, is how you can interact with it, like the Man City case of an example. So I think it's very important to have that in mind when you look into metaverse, that it's all about the mix of this one. So it's not this or that, it's a combination. And you have to figure out, based upon your product or service, what is the platform solution that fits best for your customers. But also down to that we'll see a lot about volumetric capture. And in brief, that's holograms. So like when ABBA is, for example, having a concert in London now, they'll just stream their avatars on stage. Just like in the French election, they used this 4 or 5 years ago. This will become more and more common now. So you could either get ABBA in your living room, or you can get your personal trainer actually in your living room in a totally different way compared to previously. And in the same way with spatial audio, that will also play a key role for the future of how you walk into a metaverse and can hear your avatar talking louder and louder as you go back and forth towards it. But also within the areas of AI, I will not bore you with all of these nerdy expressions, but I would like to stress the computer vision, because I think we all heard about that Facebook has changed their name to Meta and they're moving into metaverse, etc. And previously, they knew who you were based upon 5 likes. We all heard about that, the Cambridge Analytica, right? But now instead, they are taking a patent on computer vision by using that camera on your computer or a mobile device or on the goggles that you are using. So now they're going to screen your face and look at your facial expression instead. That's how they're thinking of their way of using metaverse. So think about this one also before you just jump into and which platforms you choose to build your product service offerings on. So there will also be, of course, lots about here automated content creation, because if you meet the avatar in metaverse, you have no clue about whether or not it's a real person behind it or if it's just an algorithm that is running around there and talking to you. But also on this side, the blockchain. Of course, that is the basis of the infrastructure that will drive the whole platforms of the different metaverses that are out there. So cryptocurrencies will be the key part. And also the NFTs, the non-fungible tokens that we are most familiar with, some funny monkeys that are being sold for millions of dollars of a JPEG picture, but also maybe just for the proof of ownership. That's the key thing. That's the key infrastructure towards this one. So hence the token economy based upon smart contracts and also how people interact with each other based upon not creating an entity anymore, but rather a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, and also how we are trading with the finance functions of decentralized finance and how we use this towards the digital lands, etc., that are out there. This is all the basis. So you can like the cryptocurrencies, you can hate it or you can ignore it, but you cannot come across the fact that this is the basis of the infrastructure that we are talking about now. And one of the parties that has understood this one is these guys who has created and joined forces together with these funny monkeys, Adidas. We have assisted them on their project from Norway. They have created these funny monkeys in glowing, neon glowing tracksuits, which you're then entitled to fly around with some kind of hair in metaverse. And in order to do so, the base is here, and the key is this one in the middle. That's your wallet. This is just an example from one called MetaMask. This will be your bank ID for the future. This will be the login that you will use. This will be the one you use to sort of identify yourself with. So in this case, you acquire this NFT, which proves your ownership towards that neo-glowing tracksuit. And the platform checks towards your wallet here that you are owner of the token here, the NFT, and says, okay, that's one of a kind. We will allow you to fly around with that tracksuit. That is how that will work. So don't ignore also the facts around the NFTs. They will work for a purpose of identifying stuff as well. So for example, at EY, we have at our webinars now on the blockchain side, we're giving away so-called POAP tokens, proof of attendance protocol tokens, which has apparently zero value. But when you walk into Metaverse, and we are going into Metaverse, it's not publicly known out there yet, but presumable in a month or so, we will be present in Metaverse. And when you walk into our building, we do not know who is knocking on the door. It could be an algorithm, it could be our competitors, it could be who not. But if we see that you knock on your door and you have these POAP tokens, we can at least identify you. Oh, you have been to our webinars, you are more than welcome in. That's how you also think about infrastructure and building identity towards it. So one should also take into consideration that this one will collect a lot of info of you and say a lot of you as a person. So maybe you should consider to have more than one wallet or not, all depending. Things that needs to be taken into consideration when entering into this space. And when entering into this space, it's all I think about understanding also, as these guys has done, that this is not coming overnight, so to say. It's not like all customers of Adidas is ready to fly around in neo-glowing tracksuits. It might be only 25, 20 or below the age group. The rest, they will sell ordinary sneakers to. So if you're thinking about moving into some kind of metaverse solution, you should be aware that it might not be for all of your clients and customers. But you have to understand the basis of where we are moving. That's down to this one about going from Web 2 to Web 3. Of course, not an infinite change of moving from here to there, but a slow interaction between the different phases and different elements. And you need to figure out whether or not you should just include sort of going from traditional payments of credit, debit cards, to be able to accept cryptocurrencies. That's steps you need to take into consideration. But also about ownerships in the Web 2, where you have a physical owner like Twitter, like YouTube, like Facebook, or if you're going into a different type of ownership by identifying yourself with these NFTs, and also how the finance function is going from the banks and intermediaries to using the mechanisms of DeFi, decentralized finance, and then again, the governance that works up with the ownership here, that we're going from the centralized entities towards the DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations, that you can also own a part of it without owning a share, and you can also get revenues in from it. These are all the steps that you need to take into consideration. This is not happening overnight for sure, but maybe one or two of these steps are something that you should need to take into consideration based upon your customers and clients and what you're selling or offering. So in order to have a full value of this one, you have to understand the different layers of the onion within Metaverse. It's not just one thing, i.e. create a platform, a gaming platform, and that's Metaverse. No, it's about basis infrastructure, about that not all solutions are ready yet in terms you have to have 5G in place, etc. You have to have that basis infrastructure, and also towards the Googles, whether or not how you interact with them, with or without, how should you present it? Also about, of course, the decentralized elements of using blockchain or AI agents, etc. The spatial computing that we touched upon, how you design this one in terms of the commerce part, and so on to the very end towards the consumer element and experience. So this is lots of things that one needs to consider if moving in. It's not as easy as just going to say, we're creating this one and now we're a billion-dollar business. You might do it on a short term, of course, but when people are making prediction about the metaverse market in general, it's not about just these platform creations. It's about the users that is actually also providing the hardware stuff towards also underlying software infrastructure. As we saw, there's lots of different layers there that will add value into this one. So Emergent has predicted within 5 years, metaverse will be an $800 billion business, while Morgan Stanley, they believe that it will be an $8 trillion business within the same time frame, but only in Asia alone, they believe it. So hence, someone sees opportunities here, and definitely there's some actors out there already. I think you can recall some of them without just me listing all of these one, and I could continue. I haven't even listed then EY, PwC, Boston Consulting, or Man United, or Manchester City, or even Disney, just to name someone. So there's clearly someone who's doing a push here. So it's not only anarchists or kids or criminals, for that sake, that people tend to say about the token economy back in 2017, but it's rather quite large actors, but also small ones that we are working with. So hence, that's why some of these, of course, have seen the potential based upon this one. And you could clearly say that metaverse is money and crypto's king based upon it. It might sound a little bit odd. Yes, I know that one. But that's where you have to move and think about the opportunities that lays there. You have to understand the metaverse, but you also have to understand the role of crypto in terms of also the verification elements and how the infrastructure is being built. That's hence why we at EY, as an official statement, we believe that by 2030, more than half of all business contracts will be executed by a smart contract, i.e. on a blockchain. So with that, I would like to say, don't believe in the hype that we see right now out there. Understand metaverse and which areas, and try to fit it towards some parts of your customers or users, because it might not be at this time ready for all of them to jump in. But don't be afraid of it, but rather be curious, because it's quite new for everyone. So this is also something that we are working with quite a lot of Norwegian actors on. Not very known out in markets, but among others, I've had the pleasure of assisting the business entity register on this one, who is seriously considering moving into metaverse for educational purposes of their users. i.e., if, for example, what happens if people over a low shoe now is considering creating a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization? That is not straightforward. There's no specific laws on it, and there's lots of legal pitfalls. So they want to inform people about this one. Hence, they need to be at the platforms where the users are. So this is just one example. Another one is that there's a Norwegian bank who has acquired a piece of land in metaverse. They've not received the board approval yet towards what kind of moves they will make, but it gives you also the impression of how Norwegian entities are thinking about moving into this apparently virtual world that will evolve over just in a natural development of the internet. So by that, I'm not sure if we have time for questions or anything else, but feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or connect with me on LinkedIn. And I thank you a lot for your attention.